Hello, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Wrestleview Live number 116. I am Mike Tedesco.
And I am Roy Nemmer.
And for the second week in a row, in professional wrestling, there was a really, really good event that happened, and all anybody can talk about is CM Punk. We had, I mean, look, I've seen all week online that people are like, the number for Wembley was fake and this and that. Like, I think it's a legit number. I think they legitimately sold the 81,000 tickets, and I think that's an incredible thing for a company not named WWE to have done. I still think the largest crowd goes to like WCW for their joint.
In Japan, was it?
I think it was in Korea.
Korea, it's Korea.
Yeah, it was in Korea. I think they had 100,000 people there.
Yeah.
That's a ton. Legitimately 100,000, not like WrestleMania 36 where they promoted nothing and had a horrible main event and they somehow still got 100,000 people there. I don't think so, but legit 100,000 people I think in Korea, but still humongous thing. And by all accounts, very, very well received. The All In event last week in Wembley. And the only thing that people could talk about that entire day, how freaking tragic is this, is Phil Brooks, the narcissist, the egomaniac, who once again stole the show with his drama. So, Roy, you want to talk about what CM Punk did at the Wembley show that leads to his being fired today? Contract terminated, effective immediately.
So apparently word got out. I mean, this went back even before the pay-per-view that Jack Perry was going to be on Collision and he went to use glass, and apparently people backstage told him, no, you can't. And then he went to Punk, and Punk told him, apparently, we don't do that on this show. Like no glass, nothing on Collision. So on Saturday nights. And then we get to the pay-per-view or the pre-show of the pay-per-view.
Right.
And Jack Perry looks at the camera and says, this is real glass and this is glass. And they used it. It was the windshield, right? On the car.
Yeah.
Goes backstage. He and CM Punk are face to face. And reportedly, Punk kind of, I don't know, like grabbed him or threatened him or something. And word eventually got out that some monitors backstage ended up falling on Tony Khan, and Punk had his match with Samoa Joe, and I think he ended up leaving the show after that. And that made rounds during the pay-per-view. I was watching that pay-per-view
Immediately.
And, right away. I was watching the pay-per-view, and like after that match or even during the Punk match, I was reading like there was an altercation. I'm like, what's going on? And as you mentioned, like this was the biggest show in AEW history. They legit sold out the 81,000. Congratulations to them. It's massive. If you're a wrestling fan, it's a great time. But it sucks that it got overshadowed by this. And fast forward 6 days later, CM Punk is fired.
Out of a job. I mean, how you think about like CM Punk and that return that he had in 2021 and how like I remember like all of us getting together. I know Adam was on the show.
It was massive.
It was massive, and that did a massive number. I think the only time that Rampage ever did anything
Over 1 million.
spectacular, they did over 1 million, and then Rampage has been down in 200,000 viewers ever since. But they did a hell of a job promoting that Chicago show where CM Punk came back, and it was like, wow, like he's going to put AEW, he's going to bring them to the next level. And if you think back about that moment, it was almost at the same time. I think it was like in August. I think it was like everything was happening in August. And now you think literally almost 2 years later, or just a little over 2 years later, what has he done? Like, it gets, like there's the old platitude that there's no such thing as bad news, but he did a lot of damage to that company. The spectacle of All Out last year with that big fight and that ridiculous press conference that he did, like He's such a
With
piece of
the
garbage.
with the reference.
So unprofessional. So unprofessional. And suspended forever. They actually thrive and do better without him. Then he comes back, and it's just nothing but drama. I think this is the best thing that Tony Khan has done. The statement today of him
Yeah.
hiring was shocking because you kind of figured that like the reports coming out were that Jack Perry and CM Punk were suspended until pending the outcome of the investigation or whatever it was. Well, I was surprised that they even followed through with it because Tony Khan always seems like he's like one of the guys. Like he's just so desperate to be one of the boys that he just kind of like things slide. Because last year that was even worse than I think what
Oh
happened.
yeah.
Way worse. I mean, we're talking like weapons getting involved here. Not like guns or anything like that, but like weapons, like like they're throwing stuff and they're biting each other, and there's wildness.
And it involved the
And they
EVPs as
survived
well.
that.
Yeah.
They all survived that.
Yeah. I'm surprised. Mike, you mentioned it's kind of like the best decision he's probably ever made. I don't disagree, but something like this probably should have happened the first time around. And
Yeah.
I get, the first time around, you had the executive vice presidents, essentially the elite that were involved, and to fire them and to fire Punk would have been maybe a bit extreme. So I kind of get that. But then you fast forward, literally, like you said, about a year later, almost to the day, and this stuff happens again. And credit to Tony Khan. He always looks like, as you mentioned, he wants to be one of the boys, and it's as if he's one of the boys. My personal guess is this probably did not just come from him. I'm sure there was some sort of pressure from whomever, whether it was the locker room or anyone else, pressuring him into making this decision, because it's crazy. But now, from I guess marketing, financial, whatever aspect you want to look at it, CM Punk was their biggest merchandise seller.
Yeah.
So, and he's maybe the reason, or a big part of the reason why people are watching Collision.
I would say so. I mean, he's been heavily featured on the show. He was back for that first show, and that definitely helped put it over.
Yeah.
But it like the AEW locker room, by and large, seems like it's out of control a little bit. Like there's definitely like a toxicity kind of connected to it. Like you hear a lot of different things, coming out of that locker room, and who's pissed, who's upset, who's on Twitter saying something stupid or whatever's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I think this was like so important for Tony Khan to finally be the boss, to finally just say that, what, like this guy is our top merchandise seller. He actually does move the needle for us. In that way, Phil Brooks has helped us a lot, but he's not bigger than this company, and we're not going to be held captive to his toxicity anymore. This is not acceptable from anybody. I don't care if you're the curtain jerker or the main event. You're done. And that sends a strong message to that locker room that this behavior, it's over. It has to end.
Yeah. No, I agree. And it's, he, not to make fun of him, but he finally put on his big boy pants and did it. And for sure, it was not an easy decision. There's no way that was an easy decision or an easy announcement. Daniel mentions in the chat, he was shaking, giving that comment, and he was. And we spoke about Tony being on the air and how he comes off. But my question is now, moving forward, or even just right now, what's going to happen with Jack Perry? Because he did instigate this. You and I were talking about this before we went on air. He did kind of get that going. Is he going to get punished for it, or is it a matter of everyone's friends? Jack Perry's friends with the elite and friends with Kenny or whoever it is, so he's safe, and whoever maybe goes up against them will end up getting the axe. That's what I'm curious. if
Yeah,
everyone like this.
I would like. I am kind of curious now that you frame it in that way, like as to what happens to him. I think he should be suspended, for his role in this. But you can mouth off to your coworkers, in a lot of times this happens in WWE,
Right.
and they make it into a storyline. There has been one thing through the years. The one thing about Vince, if he thinks he can make money with it, doesn't matter how despicable, disgusting it is, he'll get Matt Hardy to wrestle Edge after Edge literally stole his real life girlfriend.
Yeah. Edge and
He'll
Matt Hardy.
find a way to make money out of it.
Yeah.
Even if it's a very bad, toxic situation. You think about that storyline with Hawk falling off the Titantron, kind of playing it, leaning into his alcoholism. There
Even
hasn't
Jeff
been.
Hardy.
Oh God, with Jeff Hardy, my God, that stairwell thing that happened in Minneapolis where Eddie Guerrero died 3 years later in the stairwell, like that was disgusting. Yeah, but they leaned into all that stuff because they thought they could make money with it.
Yeah.
So you can mouth off to your coworker. Like, I don't think that Jack Perry should be punished for a while for this. You take it to the next level when you go to attack them. And this is the second time now that Punk's done this. For me, it's a one strike thing, but 2 strikes. This isn't baseball. You don't get a third strike in this one.
Yeah, and I think, and I hate, because I always make fun of people that do compare WWE to AEW, but I think what AEW truly, truly lacks, and we've seen this continuously throughout the wrestling business, is it's really a leader, right? A locker room leader. And you talk about WWE, the first thing that comes up is The Undertaker, right?
Yeah.
And Shawn Michaels, the WrestleMania, his match versus Austin, when The Undertaker approached him backstage and said, if you don't do the job, we're going to have a problem. You have that locker room leader, and that's why things never really got out of control in WWE. AEW, you don't get that vibe. You kind of get that vibe. Everyone's in it for themselves, and everyone's looking out for themselves, and no one's really friends, or you have certain groups that are divided. And I think until that is resolved, we might continue to get these little, problems, so to speak, backstage. But credit to Tony Khan.
And I think in a large way what CM Punk was doing, I mean, wasn't like outrageous at first, trying to tell this young guy, like, dude, there are ways to do this where you don't actually have to kill yourself and have long-term damage resulting from this stunt that might not be remembered on a random show. Don't use the real glass. That's good advice. That was him trying to be a locker room leader. It wasn't well received, partially because of who he is. He doesn't really seem like the nicest guy in the world. And I'm sure that he doesn't really come off all that friendly. Like everybody in WWE said he was like a freaking enigma when he was there. Just, nobody was really surprised when he left. And I don't think it really hurt the locker room that he was gone. But I think he was trying to – it started off with a good intention. Jack Perry mouthed off because it leaked out, and probably leaked out from Jack Perry, which probably –
And even Jack Perry doesn't come off as the most sincere, nicest guy in the world either.
No, but at the end of the day, like coworkers have interactions like that, just in regular jobs, where it's like, yeah, why don't you try it this way? And maybe they do it and they say, thank you. You know what? Like you helped me think that a little more through than I was. Or sometimes I might be like, you know what? No, I'm still going to do it my way. Keep your advice to yourself. I don't need it. Yeah. But it's a whole different level when you take it to a physical realm, like you're grabbing somebody by the throat, things getting knocked over, right in front of the owner. Like he made it so that Tony Khan had no choice. And,
absolutely.
And Tony Khan did. And I have been very critical of Tony Khan for a long time, but he did the right thing. He did the right thing in this case. CM Punk is gone, and
I'm not sure about the whole fearing for his life. That
was a little far-fetched.
A little much. But yes, he did do the right thing. Now let me ask you a question, Mike, and everybody in the chat as well. And we do have people, watching us, joining us, and writing in the chat. So thank you and welcome. Does CM Punk go to WWE?
Sorry, I should let the people answer first.
We
No,
don't know.
I can. I think
I think he's done with wrestling, personally
I think
speaking.
I think he's done with professional wrestling. I actually do think that there's a redemption story somewhere for him to have one more match in AEW. I'm sure there will be a reconciliation at some point, but for now, I think it's got to be for at least another year. He's done with wrestling,
Yeah.
and I think if he does come back, it'll probably be AEW again one more time for a swan song. But
you don't get cult of personality at Royal Rumble.
I can't see it. Not with Vince like being involved again.
Yeah, honestly, even with Hunter.
Yeah, even a lot of people have been floating around that SmackDown clip of from 2011 of Triple H and CM Punk in the ring during that wonderful, amazing Summer of Punk that was a play on what he did in Ring of Honor, but turned out to be led to one of the greatest WWE pay-per-views of all time. That Money in the Bank 2011 pay-per-view was probably one of the best pay-per-views that company ever produced. But he said something like, you're just a miserable bastard, or and this and that. But like what he said, there was a ton of truth in it, a ton of truth. But I don't care how much pain pills Vince McMahon is on, from his back surgery. There's no amount of narcotic. And this is a guy who loves to make money. But there are certain guys that never got brought back. You think about Macho Man never came back.
Right.
Ultimate Warrior,
Hall of Fame only.
A week before he died.
Yeah.
Other than that, he was persona non grata.
Yeah. And
I think CM Punk's going to join that rare list of people that they will never, ever work with again. Yeah. Ever.
Yeah. I got to agree with you, Mike. I know Daniel mentioned it in the chat. Well, we never thought Cody Rhodes would come back, which is fair. That is fair. But Cody never left on bad terms the way that CM Punk did.
Well, you would never think that Cody was going to come back because he was one of the founders of AEW. So I just thought that was like, well, Cody coming back is probably a pipe dream, because why would he leave his own creation? But stuff happens, and I think in a large sense, in a more behind the scenes sense, Tony Khan was being a boss then too. I think Cody wanted to. I think he had some unrealistic expectations of what he wanted from the company, and thought he deserved it. And Tony Khan did the boss thing and let him walk.
Yeah, it's. I read a comment earlier.
Cody Rhodes was not like toxic to the locker room, and
he wasn't.
And the company didn't sue him and serve him his termination papers on his wedding day just to spite him. They hated him that much. They waited. They served him his papers the day of his wedding to AJ Lee.
Yeah.
They hated him so much. This is my favorite. That when he did that podcast with Colt Cabana, and they were still trying to sell off all of his merchandise, they wanted to sell his merchandise. They wanted to get rid of it. They didn't want to just like toss it all away. But the only way that you could find his merchandise on WWE Shop was to type in CM Pink. They changed the U to an I to make him CM Pink, because they were just the most petty, childish stuff ever.
Yeah,
you could possibly do. That's how much this company hates him. They hate him so much that when he came back for Backstage, he made a deal out, because Backstage was kind of co-produced by Fox and or FS1, whatever it was. Well, it's Fox. And they made the deal with Punk because they wanted him. But Vince wanted nothing to do with him.
Yeah.
Like when he came back, that was supposed to be like a big deal, right? They never played it up on the shows.
No, ever. At all. And that could have gotten them some money as well.
And you would think they would want to, but
Daniel says it. He says, you don't think Cody versus Punk would draw. I think it absolutely would draw, and I think Punk because of the way he left and because of what just happened with AEW, I think him just being there will generate a lot of money. The other side of that coin is, do you want that headache? And even if he does generate money, for how long? Because eventually it's going to hit the fan. Something's going to happen. So do you want to deal with that?
And you got to deal with this guy every day. Every time you turn up a TV, there he is, sulking in a corner somewhere, doing something weird. Yeah. Like I think Cody versus Punk would draw. I also think that Macho Man versus Stone Cold probably would have drawn. I think that Ultimate Warrior, if he stuck around a little longer, versus Bret Hart or something, that would have drawn, or Shawn Michaels. Things there are matches that would have drawn, but they don't care. Like at a certain point, I mean, you have to be really toxic though for Vince to turn you away like that. He gave Scott Hall so many chances. Kevin Nash left and tried. They tried to wreck the company. Eric Bischoff tried to put them out of business, and he hired him.
Yeah. And they still bring him in.
Right, and Paul Heyman as well. And now Paul Heyman has control of the title that's linked to Vince's father. The WWE Championship, and basically Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns will tell him or tell that company when they're ready to drop it.
Yeah. Can't forget, even maybe to a lesser degree, even Lesnar, Goldberg, WrestleMania 20, that whole
Goldberg period.
Yeah.
Goldberg on his own. The things that he had to say about that company were not very flattering when he left, but there was an opportunity to make money, and he didn't burn every single bridge, and he didn't, whatever. Like I still, I think that'll go to, I think that's in the grave with Macho Man. I would love to know like what Macho did to never be brought back, and he wanted to come back.
I mean, there's that one big rumor.
There's that one big one, but
floats around. But you got to think, no. But I mean, what else could it be, right? Because that's extremely personal. That's really crossing the line. But I don't know. We'll never know.
I don't know.
We'll
but
never know.
Like there's a few guys that were
even Brett came back.
Yeah.
Although, depending on who you want to ask, it wasn't Brett's fault, but even Brett came back. I'm just saying.
It really wasn't, but
I don't think it was, but no.
Yeah, and you think about like how the title belts are perceived like these days now. They're doing a great job. I really have to say they have done a great job since Triple H took over of like really making these titles seem like much more valuable. Like longer reigns makes people more invested. So like even tonight, like let's talk about Payback now. But like tonight, like when the tag titles changed hands, before Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn won them, like they hadn't changed the tag titles in 600 days. That is a long time, almost 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And even this, like from WrestleMania to now, it's been half a year. Although I didn't think they had as great a reign as they probably should have. They spent a lot of time mixed up with the bloodline. As soon as they step out of the bloodline, they lose the titles.
But injuries.
Yeah, they also had some injuries too. But still, it's shocking. Like I was like shocked that tag titles change hands. I was shocked. I remember I was shocked when Bianca Belair lost to Asuka.
Yeah,
it's like wow.
That's a
good thing. But like. But you think about like how Bret Hart was like arguing like I can't lose in Canada or I'm not going to lose in the title to this guy in Canada.
Yeah, it was more about the person rather than the location, I think.
Yeah, but it was like I'm not going to lose to him in Canada in front of my people. This title, no way. I am not putting him over on the way out, and. Like they made the belt so important. They were so worried about the belt showing up on WCW Nitro. They screwed it. Like that was never going to happen. And it was such BS because Bret's contract still had another month on it. He was going to drop it in a fatal 4-way in December.
Yeah.
Like, why did it have to be that night? Vince was so weird. And Vince was the one who welched on the deal too. He promised him, X amount of years for a couple million. And said we can't afford it. And Bret tried to do everything the honorable the way out, and Vince screwed him. He really did screw him.
Yeah, WCW offered him more money. Vince told him take it. Bret said no, and then I was like, well, trying to see if you could get your old deal back after they couldn't
Yes.
agree. And then, yeah. And I've watched that. I mean, Paul's my older brother, so I've watched that Wrestling with Shadows VHS tape. I could probably quote it word by word from start to finish. Yeah, Brett said, "I'll lose to anybody but Sean." Like that's what it is, and especially in Canada.
That's a living documentary. Like
Yeah.
that is. I cannot believe that that's not like that has to be required viewing for any wrestling fan.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know,
even
that's a moment in time that's like one of the biggest moments in professional wrestling history. And you have every piece of audio. You have him wearing the wire into Vince's office where Vince says, yeah, we'll do a schmaz finish. And I love that word schmaz. You know, like that was the first time I ever heard it was in Wrestling with Shadows. And now I use it anytime they do like a big run in. I'm like, oh, the Judgment Day schmaz. You know, it's perfect.
Schmaz or whatever you want.
It's so carny. It's so kayfabe. I love it. In any event, but they're doing a good job making the titles mean something. So
yes.
Phil Brooks, I'm really looking forward. I said this in our chat earlier tonight to the Dark Side of the Ring episode about CM Punk. It's going to be
an interesting one.
It's going to be pretty intense.
Depending on who directs it, who's in it, who scripts it, it's going to be a fun one to watch.
I hope Jim Cornette's in that goddamn son of a bitch.
They'll probably get him. He's a CM Punk fan.
He does. He'll talk about anything. Jim Cornette will talk about literally anything.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, getting over to the Payback pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Basically, up until like 2 weeks ago, there was nothing promoted for this show whatsoever. They were actually promoting more heavily the SmackDown that John Cena was appearing on than they were. Yeah, than they were this show. And like I'm still surprised that like that Superstar Spectacle that John Cena's going to appear at, that they made a big deal that he was going to be there.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to air on. It's not going to air on Peacock. I think it's just going to be like a regular standalone house show.
That's interesting because that's going to be on a Friday as well, and that's going to go.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's a time difference, but you got to wonder that's got to air somewhere, and it's probably just going to be Raw guys because SmackDown is the same day.
Right, but Cena's going to be there. But actually, great news that Cena's, partially mostly due to the writer's strike that's going on right now, the SAG-AFTRA writer's strike, or just actor strike in general. John Cena is not working, so he's once again the legend. He's come back. He's committed through October.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he said it last night when I was recapping SmackDown. He told everybody it's not just a one night thing. I'm here for a few months. I'm like, whoa. Okay,
well,
we got you till probably October, November.
Yeah, I think that's awesome, and he really added a lot to the show tonight. When they announced that Payback was going to be in Pittsburgh, I think I might have said it on another podcast, but Jesus, like Pittsburgh for years is like the worst town that they go to. They always sit on their hands. Granted, a lot of times, like when I watch a Raw from Pittsburgh, there's nothing to get especially in those Vince Raws, there was nothing to get excited about, nothing at all. So I can't blame them too much, but they're notoriously dead. Like you watch like King of the Ring 1998, where obviously the legendary Hell in a Cell match happened. You need to literally have Mick Foley thrown off the cell
to get a reaction.
And
there was a title change that night too.
And there was a title change that night in a horrible. I cannot believe they sent Mick Foley out. I'm not going to do it because I can talk about that stuff all day because I love that stuff. That's my whole childhood right there. But they were awesome. This is probably the best Pittsburgh crowd ever for any wrestling event.
Yes, this was so surprising because I went into this pay-per-view. I'll be completely honest with you. When I was setting up the graphics for the pay-per-view, and I looked at them like, potentially we could have a couple of good matches. I have a feeling this might be a pay-per-view or a live event, a premium live event that hasn't gotten much hype, but I think it's going to deliver. For whatever reason, in my head, I'm like, we're going to get 2 or 3 matches that are going to deliver. But then I remembered, it's in Pittsburgh. I'm like, so no matter how good it's going to be, the crowd's going to be dead. Probably won't be as good. I was wrong.
Like I was dead wrong. I actually had zero expectations for this pay-per-view
Yeah.
just in general, because it was just like, it just seemed
But
like it was an afterthought, even on the show, even on
yeah,
the shows that were promoting it. It seemed like a total afterthought that, like,
yeah.
like the Raw that's on Monday, like with the Gunther Chad Gable, like that's a well built feud, like stuff's
Nothing on
happening,
Payback.
seems bigger than the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
But man, I was proven wrong here, because this was a really great pay-per-view. I'm not going to say it's like the best show of the year or anything like that,
No, no.
but
But
it was a solid ass show. And I do think that the women's steel cage match is probably one of the better women's matches of the year for WWE.
yeah, of course. The WrestleMania match aside,
The
between
WrestleMania match
Charlotte and
aside, I
Ava,
think
yeah.
this could be the second best women's match.
You had the backlash Bianca and Io. That was
That was
good as
great
well.
too.
But
So top three, maybe.
top three, I would say top three, and I know we've mentioned this in the past. Um, it's been about a year to 2 years now since we've been back, or maybe a year since we've been back in front of an audience. WWE pay-per-views have delivered consistently.
Every time, yeah.
I really cannot think of
Even
a
under
single
Vince.
pay-per-view. Even under Vince, yeah. I cannot think of a single pay-per-view in the last year and a half to maybe 2 years that you're looking like, oh, that was rough, or that wasn't very good. I can't.
I'm actually going through my head right now and trying to think of it.
I can't. If you guys in the chat have one, let me know. Let us know. I can't
Yeah,
think of.
let us know, like, your
It continues
worst
to
pay per
deliver.
view
Yeah.
since they started going back to live crowds, because I really can't think of it. Jim Cornette, by the way, on the spot.
Oh,
I've been involved in a business filled with exaggeration and hyperbole for almost 50 years, and I've never heard a single line of dialogue containing a more stunning, awe-inspiring metric fuck ton of unadulterated bullshit in my life as I heard uttered tonight. Hashtag scared for his life.
there you go. Come on, that was. Yeah, you want to talk hyperbole? Come on, that's exaggeration. Like, come on. You're the owner. You really think they're gonna CM Punk is stupid enough? He might do weird stuff, but he's not gonna attack the owner.
He's not going to kill Tony Khan.
Come on.
Gonna kill you right where you sit, Tony.
Yeah. Either that or Tony's never really been in a fight or an argument in his life. I don't get it.
Maybe that bump he took was like, oh,
Yeah.
my God, sky's falling. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
He's a little off. That was a little off. But
Yeah.
in any event, I cannot think of a single horrific WWE pay-per-view. But that tag match, I actually think the tag match for any company is one of the better ones of the year.
Yeah.
Any company. I thought that was a phenomenal brawl. They did everything perfectly in that, and I know we'll get into it in a few. But Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus the Judgment Day, Finn Balor and Damian Priest, that was just such a killer match. That was such a killer match. Even the main event really delivered in its own way. It was like a variety show where it had a whole bunch of different stuff. Power versus power. The injured back is the story. Tag team championship brawl.
Mm-hmm.
A steel cage grudge match. The Miz being an idiot. It's like,
yeah. And what I enjoyed is, I think there were only 6 matches on the card.
Yes.
Every match went, I want to say at least 15 minutes.
Yeah. It seemed like they were given a lot of time.
They got time, yeah. And we even got, you mentioned John Cena. We had Jey Uso. We had Cody. We had a lot on this show. It was we say this practically every month after every pay-per-view, but there was something here for everybody. Whatever you like. Yeah,
whatever it is that you like, there's something existed for it. Yeah. So 3 matches went 20 minutes. 2 matches were under 20 but above 15, and then the Rey Mysterio versus Austin Theory was just under 10 minutes.
There you go.
So everything was given time to breathe.
Yeah. You know what? Sorry.
Even
the Mysterio. Yeah, that was maybe the
only when Austin Theory was on.
But. Yeah. It's interesting. I just checked now. There was no press conference after this pay-per-view.
No, there wasn't. I kind of really like those press conferences now. I look forward to them. I expect them. So, Yeah, I was
I don't know why.
kind of bummed that they didn't do one, but they did play that the Angle documentary. I caught a little bit of it while I
Right
was setting
after it.
up and eating, and it was actually really good.
Yeah.
Like
I'll have to watch that.
I want to go back and finish watching that later because
Yeah.
it was Kurt Angle's one of my all time favorites, and
Oh, I
it's
love Kurt.
totally fascinating life.
It's sexy Kurt. He'll make your ankles hurt.
Yes, indeed.
Uh,
So this show kicks off with a steel cage match of Becky Lynch versus Trish Stratus, and I I really despised this feud. I hated it. I wanted to give it a chance. I think if you see some of my earlier recaps, like when Trish did her first heel promo, I was like, oh, give it a chance, see what happens. And I swear to God, I gave it a chance. I thought the match at Crown Jewel, or what was it called, Night of Champions, was not that great. Uh, it was just okay, okay, but like it just seemed like drag on forever, with no real end in sight to any of it. I'm trying to find my exact thoughts on it. I said it went long. Crowd wasn't into it. No one wants to boo Trish at this point. And having Zoe Stark come out should bolster her, but it really didn't. Like Zoe Stark, I was hoping would take off in this, and she really didn't. But they did a thing with Zoe at the end of the match that hopefully will send her to the next stratosphere.
I see what you did there.
But this match, like the promos leading up to it were horrible. That one Raw match that they did 2 weeks ago, I think it was in Quebec City, it was so bad. Like I couldn't believe that these were two professionals. One of them had a really wonderful career. I'm not going to say that Trish Stratus is the best women's wrestler ever, but she was not bad, and in her time she was phenomenal. She was really great. And then Becky Lynch, who main events WrestleMania and has been doing this for a while. Like I was like, what am I watching? This is just so bad. And then they did that finish. I was like, they're gonna build to something else, but nothing in this match made me want to see it ever again.
Mm-hmm.
This is a great redemption story. What they did in that steel cage tonight, and it wasn't like Trish was there, just kind of floating through and just doing the match, and like, oh, I just want my kid to see me wrestling, and and then I'm going to go home to Toronto, and like looks like Trish is staying around because she's got a feud with Zoe Stark now. But Trish, I've like taken a superplex off the top of the steel cage. That nasty welt on her forehead from slamming herself into the cage so many times. Like Trish really is out there trying to really prove something that I'm a Hall of Famer, and you might think less of the time that I came up in, but I can go with the women of today.
Yeah.
And you know what? Tonight she proved that on any given Saturday night on a pay-per-view, Trish Stratus can turn it on and be great. And Becky Lynch, I haven't seen Becky Lynch be great in a long time.
Yeah, and this feud, as you mentioned earlier, this feud that was not great, so that didn't help Becky.
Right.
I don't. Going into this match, I thought, oh boy, this is either going to be just a complete spot fest, and we're going to get a lot of, some bad spots. I was pleasantly surprised. I really, really was. The effort was there from both of them. Trish at her age, I mean, I'm not saying she's old, but at her age, taking that superplex, even at one point when she was dangling on the outside, her legs.
That was crazy.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, what if her leg snaps or just turns, or like her ankle or something? And that was dangerous. That was very dangerous. But no, it was a good match, and the fans were into it. I thought that the commentary throughout was very, very good. It took a bit of time for it to get going, but I like the way that they utilized the cage. I really did. And a lot of times, whenever we get a cage match, it's just, for whatever reason, it doesn't really work out. In this case, I thought they used the cage well. And you knew Zoe was going to get involved, and you knew, obviously, something's going to happen, but I wasn't expecting the turn at the end. from Trish onto Zoe.
I wasn't either. I thought that would be like a slow build. I kind of thought that Trish was just going to do. I honest to God thought that Trish was going to do this match and like disappear for like a month or two, or and Zoe like is left like leaving out "Have you seen me" posters for her, something, and then she returns at Rumble. I was really surprised they did an angle after the match, and the angle isn't like Zoe turns on Trish and Trish goes back to being a babyface. Trish is still the bad guy in this.
Yeah.
And Zoe's going to be the face. Like I'm kind of curious to see where that goes, because this was a very good match. And honestly, like what they did on Raw this past Monday kind of set the tone for like what this was going to be, because even Monday felt like we got to get this back. And I thought they did a good job. I thought they had a good brawl with Zoe Stark and Trish and Becky Lynch, and the table spots and everything at the end. Like they were definitely going above and beyond to show people that they're serious, that they're not phoning in on this feud. And it kind of set the table for what turned out to be a really, really very damn good match tonight.
Yeah. No, I'm glad. I'm glad. And now it's just a matter of, we got to get Zoe going and we got to get Becky back on track. This was a good start tonight to get Becky back on track. It was a good match. Now it's a matter of what are they going to do with her? Who's going to feud with? Because if it's another feud with Asuka, it's not going to go well.
Actually, it looks like it's going to be that Tiffany Stratton chick from NXT.
Right, from NXT. Sorry, yeah, I forgot about that. You're right.
Which could be good. I'd be kind of curious. I do think that Becky Lynch needs to.
She needs a
rethink her character.
Yeah, she needs a reset.
I think she's got to refine it a little bit and move it forward. It seems like she's still trying to capture, like, she was very, like, those tweets that she was sending out in like 2018, 2019 were really edgy. The things that she was saying about Ronda Rousey, like, she had a real chip on her shoulder, and that's what got the buzz for her. That's what put her in the main event.
Yeah.
I still think she's chasing that ghost, and she's not moving forward. I think she thinks that by moving forward is dressing up in zany costumes. It's like, you don't have to take a page out of your husband's playbook, because I don't like that aspect of his character either. It just doesn't. It's like stupid. But, obviously it gets people talking when he wears like big red rubber boots, but I don't think that that's like the best way for everybody to conduct themselves as they move forward, where you just become a caricature of yourself. Yeah. I'd like to see Becky Lynch get back to basics. And hopefully after this feud, maybe she can do a little self-evaluation here.
Maybe, yeah. I think the whole, the man character, I think that's dead. I don't think it's working anymore. It's not coming off well. Having her in NXT might not be the worst thing in the world. I'm not saying keep her there, but, I'll have some shows there, a bit back on Raw, back and forth. Could be what she needs to get herself going again.
Yeah, getting her, and also being around some new people and different ideas. Yeah. Maybe it might start jogging the creative juices in her again, because right now she's very stale, very stagnant. I was saying it in 2020, before the pandemic even started, she was coming out. I remember one day I was just like, I came on the podcast with Victoria and I just go, why is Becky Lynch dressing like Elton John? I don't understand. It just doesn't. She came in a monster truck. Remember, she was like driving around a monster truck. I was like, what the? Okay, like we have jumped 15 trucks with this character now.
They jumped what's that? The Megalon or something?
Yeah. You know what? It's funny. We went to a drive-in movie theater and they do a double showing of a double feature, and the one movie we saw was Barbie. I gotta say, fantastic movie. I'm just gonna say I don't care.
Give me just Margot Robbie, and I'm good. It's fine.
Oh my god, she is gorgeous. But the movie after was The Meg too.
Oh, okay.
We left halfway through.
I watched the first one. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think I had to see the first one. I didn't see the first one, so I was like,
real.
Yeah, it's like we just looked at each other. We're like, we're getting older, right? We should go home. We have children, right? we should go home and be with our kids. That's a thing. That is a thing. The next match on this show, oh my god, where am I at? I have the results from
Night
Night
of
of
Champions.
Champions Open. I was about to say Mustafa Ali versus Gunther. I was like, when did that happen?
No.
I'm like, wow, it must have slipped and hit my head or something like that. The Miz versus LA Knight. Oh.
This worked because of John Cena.
It did.
Because of John Cena.
This feud was not going well at all.
No.
It like they were leaning too heavily into like, oh, you know, LA Knight's just ripping off the Attitude Era. Like they really had Miz, like it really felt like that thing that they do when the crowd puts over somebody to the point where they have to do something and they begrudgingly do it. And then they just set out to, all they do with that feud, the WWE does, is they set out to prove how wrong the crowd is by making that person look like a total fool the entire time.
Yeah.
They tried to do that with Daniel Bryan. He was able to overcome it, but they've done it to other people since. And I feel like that's what they were doing to LA Knight. I feel like Miz going out there and doing his whole gimmick and getting the crowd to, you know, and it was a bad look on when he dressed up as LA Knight and got the crowd to do all of the things. You got them to chant, do whatever. They were having fun with it to show that anybody could do this character, right? And I was like, this is going too far. We're doing that thing again where we're pushing him, but we're not pushing him up. We're pushing him down.
It's like a backhanded compliment.
Right. And I was like, this feud's dying. And like, I felt like the reactions to LA Knight in the last month since he won the SummerSlam Battle Royal have actually been, I haven't seen, I can't attest to have seen every SmackDown, but when he was coming out on Raw, I was like, where's that big reaction that he was getting like a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
And I really felt like the Miz had hurt him there. And John Cena is going to come in and do whatever the hell he wants to do. And I think he saw an opportunity to work with a guy and get him over and just to see what happens. And John Cena kind of went out there to make LA Knight tonight and kind of saved him in a big way. You know, like it was definitely made more special because of John Cena, but half of that match with the Miz, like I forgot John Cena was there. It was weird that here's one of the biggest stars in wrestling history, just as a special referee, and he's kind of invisible in the match. You can't see him. And it's about LA Knight. And then at the end, he made it about LA Knight again, shook his hand, did the respect thing, let him have his moment. He got, they had a little jaw jacking going on there. He was going out of his way to make LA Knight tonight. Yeah. And that reaction was back for him. Because they, even before he was, when he was doing the thing with the Miz in the ring and talking about, how do I host? I don't know how to do it. I don't know what I'm doing. That was great stuff. And the Miz was
Miz cracked him. You got him to crack.
Yes. It was about the Barbie movie, and Victoria and I like, we have context for that. We know what he's talking about. Yeah. Like they set it up perfectly. It was kind of like they rehabbed LA Knight in one night.
Yeah. No,
the match.
Granted, it took John Cena to do it, but yes.
Yes. But lucky. I mean, most of the good stuff in wrestling is all time and place.
Right.
LA Knight was in the right time at the right place for this moment. For an actor strike to be happening and have John Cena on a random pay-per-view in September.
Yes. No, absolutely.
Good for you, man. You did it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Lightning in a bottle, literally. I watched their promo from last night, and I think it was the best exchange that they had or that they've had so far. It wasn't too personal. It was just enough for it to be believable. And then tonight, when Cena came out, he said, "I'm going to be the special guest referee for this match." That's when for me, like, okay, LA Knight's winning. They're going to do something big. There's no way they're screwing him out of this match. Absolutely no way. And when he came out, he got a pop. LA Knight got that pop. The match itself, not great. I don't know what it was. It's the chemistry. I don't know. It just didn't work.
There is something about LA Knight matches that I've noticed. He tries a little too hard, and sometimes it doesn't work out. There are certain things that he does that just look very clunky. In a way, he's like Karrion Kross, but over. Like he's over with the crowd, but once the bell rings, it's like
he's better in the ring than Karrion Kross.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
That guy disappeared. Where did Karrion Kross go?
I don't know. He was wasn't he feuding with AJ at one point? I don't know who's he feuding with now.
Yeah,
Um,
and hopefully nobody, because he's
there
not
you
that
go.
good.
No, but yeah, no, but you know the big payoff came after the match, as you mentioned, him and Cena and showing the respect, and Cena gave him his moment. So we'll see where he goes from here. If he continues feuding with the Miz, if they do a whole thing where the Miz says no, well Cena was the ref, he screwed me, and we get another match leading into October, or if we get something new for LA Knight, who knows? Time will tell.
I hope something new.
Yeah.
I just messing around with the Miz is just, I don't know. It's
Mm.
it's not doing him any favors. It's just not. Even though they can have a good exchange, I, I don't know. I don't think so.
No.
Here's a match presented by Cinnamon Toast Crunch. They love Rey Mysterio matches because they did his match against his son at WrestleMania. I was like, oh, Cinnamon Toast Crunch is back.
Yeah.
I do love Cinnamon Toast Crunch though. It really makes me want it very badly, but I have to remember it.
Proper marketing.
You're getting old, Mike. You're getting old. You can't be eating Cinnamon Toast Crunch every day now. Austin Theory versus Rey Mysterio. You know how many times I'm sure this has been mentioned before, but like it always boggles my mind when I think about how long Rey Mysterio has been around.
Oh, no, that's
Like Rey Mysterio
I
started wrestling. I was in first grade. I was younger. I think
I was kindergarten.
Oh, actually, hold on. Actually, I think Rey Mysterio
He was in
started.
ECW at one point as well, right?
So yes, he was. He was in ECW. He went through all those systems.
Yeah.
April 30th, 1989. I
I
was
wasn't born yet.
2 years old. I was 2 years
I
old when Rey
wasn't
Mysterio started
born
wrestling.
yet. Yeah.
And do you know how many times WWE, when they got him, it's always like, what's next? We got to think who's gonna be the next Rey Mysterio, who's gonna get that that
No
Latino
one.
Latinx demographic.
Yeah.
And they've tried so many people: Alberto Del Rio, Sin Cara. I think they were going to try to go with Santos Escobar, and it always Damian Priest for a time.
Yeah.
It
You're right.
always comes back to the
So
next. The next Rey Mysterio is Rey Mysterio,
Rey Mysterio. It's him.
and
It's him.
and he is. I mean, he's 48 years old. He'll be 49 in December.
He's in great
He's
shape.
just so damn good. I thought he was phenomenal in this match tonight. That slide into the tornado DDT on the outside is so tight. The things that he's doing, like he's obviously modified his style to,
Right,
work
of course.
work around
Smarter.
his limitations. He's smarter. And also protect his knees and everything because he had knee injuries forever and ever and ever.
Mhm.
I thought the stuff when he was on offense was really good and was really compelling. And the stuff with Austin Theory was
Yeah.
very bad, very boring. Not,
This
I shouldn't say bad. He didn't do anything. It just,
you could tell he's still green. He's still learning.
yes, there's
You
nothing
can tell.
interesting about it.
You can tell. That's
There's
I
nothing special.
No, I tweeted this out last night after his match on SmackDown, the tag team match. I said putting Theory and Grayson Waller together in a tag team, it's honestly could be exactly what they need
Yeah,
because they're both similar, right? They have that character of young, good looking, in shape, this and that. But when the bell rings, I'm not hating on them, right? I'm not saying I could do better. Obviously not. I'm not hating, but they're not great, and that's normal. They still have a lot to learn. So putting them in a tag team might not be the worst thing in the world, right? You might be able to mask some, like, you know what I mean? Get them to learn, mask some of their downsides, downfalls,
yeah, yeah. Maximize
something.
the positives and
Yeah,
don't accentuate the negatives.
the negatives. Right?
Uh, my only issue is they just look so alike.
They're similar, but they're young.
Yeah.
None of them has a beard, really. Theory had one for a couple of weeks and shaved it off.
Yeah, I know it was really ratty looking too. With Grayson Waller, it shows you just how unoriginal and uninspiring Austin Theory
Yeah,
is himself. Because it's
yeah.
just like anybody, like you think anybody can do the LA Knight character, anybody can do that Austin Theory character. It's really not that hard, and also not that compelling and not that deep. So
No,
hopefully a tag team can put a little shine on them. Rey
hopefully.
Mysterio retains. Actually, I was kind of surprised by that. I honestly thought, Rey was just holding it just to lose it back, but
No, I
he
think they're gonna
retained.
run with him. I think they're gonna run with him, and eventually something's gonna happen with Escobar. That's my guess.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so. I was actually surprised because they also made mention that Ray was wearing some kind of vest that he wore when he was tagging with Dominic. They made mention of this during his entrance, and Ray there was a red X over Dominic's face because they were both on the vest. I was like, I would like to see Ray versus Dominic again. I really would.
Yeah, but not now. I would too.
Not now.
But they're
Yeah.
doing such a great job with Dominic and the Judgment Day, which we're going to talk about in a bit, that if you give him maybe another year and you have another match, then possibly, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think well, again, like there are some. It's a little less than it was, that Vince is back, but there are still some long-term seeds planted that'll pay off.
There are. I don't. Yes, Vince is back. I really don't think he's back anywhere near the same capacity as he was before. I really don't believe so. The shows continue to be good, whether it's the pay-per-views or Raw or SmackDown. They're changing it up a lot with NXT, right? You had the New Day show up at one point. We're probably going to have Becky show up. Dominic's the champ. So they're really trying to change it
all the time.
Rhea Ripley as well. She's always there. You had Finn Balor and Damian Priest. So I think that they're trying. Vince is back, but I don't think it's, again, anywhere near this.
It's not as intrusive and invasive as it was. But his mark is still felt sometimes. Okay, this Steel City Street Fight, I'm telling you, it's probably one of the best matches of the year for WWE, and maybe in all of wrestling, period. This was just a perfect brawl. You had some great hard hitting action. You had the faces that never say die, and the heels that just try to think of every single workaround to try to win. You had an awesome tribute to Terry Funk. You had a Crimson Mask in the match with Kevin Owens. I didn't even see where he got busted open, but he had the Crimson Mask. I was like, that's the best tribute you could possibly give to Terry Funk. Coming down the aisle looking completely crazed, face totally bloodied, wearing a Terry Funk shirt. It doesn't get any more Terry Funk than that. I was like, that is such a wonderful tribute.
They played to the crowd as well with the Pittsburgh Penguins, the hockey jerseys, and the hockey sticks and stuff.
That was so cool. Yeah, Sidney Crosby and Mario Lemieux. I was like, that was really, really well done. And the crowd was just rocking the entire time. They had a ton of interference. I know that people hate that, but that's like,
this made sense in this match.
I actually, and the ending shocked me because I was like, they're going to be getting Damian Priest out of there very soon. So they're, it's probably going to come down to a thing where JD McDonough costs on the match, and then maybe tonight's night they kick Damian Priest out. Instead, they're champions. Everybody in the Judgment Day is now a champion. It's like, you know what? They did a cool thing with Evolution, when that stable was running, where I think Triple H was the world champion, Batista and Ric Flair were tag champs, and Randy Orton was the Intercontinental. Like, they had every single title other than the world title, and that's what made me think that's what made us collectively think that the cash-in was happening tonight, so that they could get the world title as well.
Yeah.
But like everybody at least has a title now, and that's what Rhea Ripley said. If we don't all leave with titles on Monday, she said this on Monday, then we need to rethink this whole entire thing. And here they are with titles. I couldn't believe it. So everything from the surprise factor to the tributes, the brawling, the blood, the weapon spots, everything flowed. It's like, I think they took a page in this case. They took a page from AEW with those Stampede matches,
stadium Stampede. Yeah, but they did this the difference between, and I know I said that
more in control.
They're more. Yeah, it was well structured. Like, there was a format to this match. Stadium Stampede was it was a brawl in the stadium, and you guys do what you want, and it was difficult to follow. It really was.
Right. I mean, it was a spectacle for sure. Right. Yeah. But like, things were happening that they couldn't get on camera because something else was happening somewhere else that was on camera. And then it's like, oh, check out what just happened here. And it's like, then it's just a carnage for the sake of carnage. But like, like you forgot that they set the table up at ringside, and all of a sudden Sami Zayn punches Finn Balor in the face. He goes through the table. It's like, oh, I forgot that was there. What a great spot. That was awesome.
Yeah. And it all made sense. Even when the Judgment Day were interfering, it was one at a time. It made sense. That spear at the end by Rhea, you're like, whoa, wait a minute. And then even after that, you're thinking, yeah, they'll do something where Owens and Zayn will retain. It was a shock. I was shocked.
Right. Yeah, I thought like Cody Rhodes would come out or something. Nothing. No.
Yeah. No. It was good.
Yeah, and then when he hit him in the head with the briefcase, it was Dominic that did it.
Yeah.
And he covered him with like 1, 2, 3. I was like, oh, that's a title change. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Was it? I think it was Graves that said it. I'm pretty sure it was him. Like, he said something along the lines of like Dominic was the MVP tonight.
Yeah. Yes.
And even though he wasn't involved, and even though he plays that heel role where you want to see him get his ass kicked, and he does it so well, it made sense tonight that he's the one that saves him. You know what I mean?
Right.
I love this match. I really did. I haven't been high. I said this before. I have not been too high lately on Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn since WrestleMania, just because I saw so much of them on SmackDown the last year. But I like this match. This was the first match I enjoyed watching involving Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn since probably WrestleMania, to be very honest with you.
I think that's a fair assessment. I really do. They did have a really good match against Pretty Deadly on SmackDown.
They did.
And I got to tell you, I love Pretty Deadly. Like, I'm so bummed that Elton Prince got the shoulder injury from that wild bump he took off of Ridge Holland. That was not Ridge Holland's fault. There's a lot of things that are Ridge Holland's fault. That bump was not one of them.
No.
But I love Pretty Deadly. That was such a great – they're a great tag team. Really, really funny. And anyway, like that was like the one match I remember. Oh, also the Night of Champions match against Roman Reigns and was it Reigns and Solo Sikoa?
Yeah. I was sick of that though. Like that was.
But they were the champions and they were the afterthought of that match.
Yeah, it's all about Roman.
The match wasn't about them at all.
No.
It was about Roman Reigns and the Bloodline. So even as champions, they kind of played like a bit role, for months. And actually, tonight was the first time that the tag titles had even appeared on a pay-per-view since Night of Champions.
There you go.
So only their second defense on a pay-per-view, and they lost. So.
But it's good. It's good. I mean, I say this because it's going to come out wrong. It's good they lost because you could tell they were just kind of a transition champion. Like it was just a transitional reign. And they probably just wanted to reward them for all the work they did with the Bloodline, and they weren't just going to leave them empty-handed.
They definitely deserved it. But also, like you have those titles on Jimmy and Jey Uso for 600 days, or what was it, like 663 days, I think, total. Somebody can correct me, if, whatever it was. You can't just have it be like, okay, well, they're going to lose to Pretty Deadly on Payback.
No.
So like they had to build them up to like such a massive level. I mean, they built it. I mean, they did a hell of a job building up, to the point where the tag team titles were in the main event of WrestleMania being defended. Like that's huge. And then, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn carry them, and they're still very, very over. Mm-hmm. And that rub goes to the Judgment Day now. It's the tag team titles aren't at least like a forgotten about, totally forgotten about title or totally worthless like they have been.
At all. And I know we mentioned this off air, and we'll mention it now for everybody, but usually the fall is such a bad period for the WWE or wrestling in general. But now, even last year, it wasn't bad, especially going into Survivor Series with War Games. But now, not so much. It's exciting. You don't know what direction they're going to go for a lot of the storylines. So
it's exciting. I'm definitely looking forward to the fall, and everybody knows from post Raw that I dread the fall. I dread it.
Yeah. Well, it's fair, but at least now they're trying something, and it helps if they continue to treat Survivor Series as a massive show. Absolutely.
We had Cody Rhodes on the Grayson Waller effect. Not much to it other than the big news that main event Jey Uso is going to be on Raw now. I saw some talk about this online. Do you think they brought Jey Uso back too early? for the storyline?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It's been. I mean, he's been away for 3 weeks. I get it, unless they have plans, major plans for him right away. Something happened, something changed. But for me, it wasn't enough. 3 weeks, especially when you consider that one of them, that the SmackDown last week, the tributes and everything. So essentially, he was away for 2 weeks, and
That's a good
it
point.
wasn't just I quit SmackDown. It was I quit WWE.
Right.
And, whoa, and then you bring him back on Raw, and I don't know. For me, it was too early, but if they have something planned, which I don't doubt that they do, it could be a good thing.
You really made me rethink what I was going to say now, because like WWE never ever does like the I quit storylines really well. I mean, like you go back to CM Punk, when he left with the WWE title, why was he back? He was back like 2 weeks later. They had him sign a new contract and they rushed him back. I think they're so afraid of him losing his heat, but I think absence makes the heart grow fonder for wrestling fans. And if you let him have the time off that he needed, or even in this case, I'm talking about Jey Uso now. Like if he had the time off that was needed, and you bring him back like at Rumble or at Survivor Series or whatever, like have him be
War Games, and he's the 5th guy or something.
Right. Yes, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Have him be like the mystery guy in War Games, and it's like, whoa, what the hell? Oh my god, like that would be like a humongous event, and he absolutely would not lose any steam from that whatsoever.
No.
Yeah, you know what? It is too quick. It is way too quick. This seems like a Vince call. I think Triple H could have held off a little bit.
Yeah.
But what? At the same time, it gives Jey Uso like, being on Raw, it gets him away from the bloodline a little bit. Obviously, the bloodline will still always be looming as a dark cloud over his head.
Yes.
But in the meantime, he gets to do some different things and, try out some different stuff. I'm kind of curious to see what they do.
I'm thinking, I got this idea after he showed up and everything, and the whole X factor is Damian Priest with the Money in the Bank briefcase. But do you think eventually we get Jay winning the title off Seth, and then Jay versus Roman at one point?
It could be.
Do we get something like that? Is that why they rushed him back? You get Jay winning the title in October, and then him versus Roman at Survivor Series. They do a whole title versus title.
They could. I hope they just do
a
War Games instead, or whatever.
I would prefer that. Yes, I would prefer.
Yeah, we'll see. You know what?
It's interesting, but
I just hope that maybe Jey Uso has a feud with Gunther or something like that, or like he gets like a new look to try something different while still being involved in the Bloodline storyline, but he can be involved in other subplots, somewhere where you just get to see this guy in a different light. I think that's so important because they kind of been doing the same thing for 3 years or basically for the entirety of the day one-ish stuff. It's like
and
he's never had an opportunity to actually be main event Jey Uso without Roman Reigns, so maybe this is the time.
No, that's it. That's exactly it. And like we saw, yes, it was.
You wait a little longer.
They could have waited. They could have waited, especially since, I mean, like SmackDown next week, we don't even know. Like that whole bloodline thing has, in my opinion, lost so much steam, so much momentum, that we don't even know what the fallout is. Who's Roman going to feud with now? Right? Is it going to be Jimmy? Is it something else? Jimmy's back. He's with the bloodline. What's going to happen? So I don't know. It's odd timing for me in regards to Jimmy, but I'm glad he's away from the bloodline. At least for now, we know he's going to, that storyline's going to come back. But at least for now, he's away, and that's a good thing.
Yes, absolutely. Interesting stuff. Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez.
I
conflicted on this match.
Same. It wasn't bad at all, but I was expecting better.
That is exactly how I feel about it too. It's like I've seen them, have some really, really great matches in NXT, and I get it. Like, they're at different stages of their careers now, and they're also introducing this feud for the first time to a wider audience. Yeah. So you don't want to give them too much at first. There's a lot of potential here. I don't. Number one problem was I don't think Raquel was over enough. I
No.
think that they rushed this, or they didn't do enough to get the crowd to believe in her.
Hmm. They the commentators did. I think the commentators tried
They
to
were
put
they were
Raquel
trying
over
to they were
by
doing the
saying,
extra legwork to try to get that
yeah,
over.
yeah. It's something was missing. There were some nasty bumps in this match, specifically by
Yes,
Rhea,
I think
on
Rhea
the
lost like
head.
yeah, oh yeah, that was nasty. I think she lost like one of her nose rings. I think got like ripped out or something like that because she had like
That's
a
probably the blood.
yeah,
That's
like
probably
I
it.
think like there might have been like something in her septum or like something that got
Uh,
pulled out because that wasn't like blood that was like a bloody nose. That was like
no,
streaks,
drip.
you know.
Yeah, it's I don't know. She took some nasty bumps. No one was particularly bad. Like it wasn't a bad match, but it was just expecting better. Um,
It kind of felt like the exact. I swear to God, I honestly had this thought while I was watching it, like when they were doing the lockup and you know they can't move each other and they're clubbing each other and no one's going down. I was like, this is almost the exact layout of Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg
Lesnar
for
Goldberg.
WrestleMania 20. You
Yeah,
know, like
yeah,
it's almost that exact layout, but nobody hates them. So instead of chanting "You sold out," they just sit on their hands because the match, even if Brock Lesnar and Bill Goldberg did that match and they weren't leaving, that would just be one of the worst WrestleMania matches of all time because it
oh
would be
yeah,
so boring. It was just so
yeah,
poorly laid out.
yeah.
Um,
And I don't think anyone truly expected Raquel to win.
no, and that's because they didn't do a good job of making
Building it.
her feel
Yeah.
important. You know,
Oh,
they started trying to make a push like at the you know they did the thing with like the crutch and you know faking the knee
yeah.
injury, and I was like, you know, that's like tropes. You know, it's like she needs a little more help. She needs a little more help getting over. I think a good match like like you know will do the trick, but I wanted them to have a better match than just a good match, and it just didn't happen. It was
Hopefully,
still hard hitting. It was still good.
yeah, it wasn't bad.
Um,
Hopefully, we get another match.
oh yeah, I think we are,
I think we are.
especially because Dominic
Hopefully,
interfered.
right, right, yeah. Maybe what Extreme Rules is the next pay per view. I think
I think it's
usually.
Fastlane's the next one.
Fascinating. When's Extreme Rules?
I think Extreme. Did we already have Extreme Rules?
Because I remember last September, Bray Wyatt came
Yeah,
back in
he
Extreme Rules.
returned in October.
That
Yeah,
was October.
yeah. I
When
don't
is
know
the
what
next pay per view then?
the next one
What
is. Definitely Fastlane. That they did
Fastlane?
announce that one. Oh yeah, they don't have any Extreme Rules planned. It looks like.
Fair enough.
All right, whatever.
It's all good. Less crazy hardcore matches, repeat
Fine.
matches. So yeah.
Yeah,
But anyways, I think we'll get a rematch
yeah,
pretty soon between those two.
yeah. Probably Fastlane or something like that.
Yeah.
And then of course you have our main event here. You know, they really did a good job building this up, and like Shinsuke Nakamura going out and talking in front of the live audience, just it's not going to work, you know,
Mhm.
for his skill level at English and everything. It's not going to come off as effective, you know. It's so doing these videos. I thought that was so what a brilliant move to do the videos like that and do the subtitles and do the comic book theme and
Yeah.
um, it was really really well done and I wasn't sure how it was coming off on TV because you know like when I saw the angle like the angle of him this past Monday and he kicked him in the back. It's like oh okay, he kicked him in the back. Like it'll be a decent match, but like the crowd was like they were like crazed before they
Into it.
even locked up. I was like, did I miss something here?
Yeah.
I
The
couldn't believe how excited the crowd was to see this match.
yeah. The build-up was very well made, and I think they got that. They finally figured out how to use Nakamura.
Yeah,
Uh, and it's just don't get him to talk in front of a live crowd in English.
that's it.
Yeah. Um, were you expect? I know we kind of we were talking about a possible cash in, but were you expecting Nakamura at all to get the title?
No, no, I wasn't.
No.
I think it actually, because Nakamura is doing such great work, I do think that, like, Nakamura going after the back is going to be the impetus that leads to Damian Priest getting the Money in the Bank briefcase. Nakamura is going to do all the work, and then at the end, he'll be the afterthought.
Razor's Edge or something.
I think that's what's going to wind up ultimately happening here. But he was so great. That one spot early in the match where he had a waist lock, I think, on Seth Rollins. He backs him into the ropes, and then he's like, he starts rubbing his back and he slaps him. I was like, that was kind of sick.
It was genius.
I liked it.
Yeah.
Like, I've been waiting to see like a Shinsuke Nakamura like this. Like he seems like totally rejuvenated and excited again, because he was Nakamura is one of those guys where apparently he was really, really great in Japan, and he's didn't get over at that level here. They did push him, but they did a terrible thing with him early on, and I think that stuck with him. They promoted his match with AJ Styles as a dream match months out of the WrestleMania match, and by the time it gets to the WrestleMania match, there's nothing they could have done. There's absolutely nothing they could have done except to throw him off of the top of the Superdome to get people to be like, that was a phenomenal, one of the best matches I've ever seen. The expectations were too high, and it was hard to get around that.
Yeah, and then they went with the whole low blow.
Yes, yeah, that's right. He was kicking dicks like
that was the real downfall, I think, more than the WrestleMania match not being great. And then they stuck him with Rick Boogs at one point until Boogs got injured. And it wasn't, and like, it was good, but you could tell they did not know what to do with Nakamura. So to go from that to this tonight, where he's kind of a credible threat, it makes sense.
Oh yeah, and he was more than like I got to tell you, like, Seth Rollins grates on my nerves sometimes, especially with his promos. But that guy is just so damn good. The progression of the selling of the back. It was like, when he kicked him in the back at first, it was like, and actually the commentators set a really nice tone for it too, saying like, just to be clear, Seth Rollins isn't in excruciating pain every day of his life. He has a broken back. He knows it. He works around it. He knows how to protect it. But, when someone's targeting it, now that somebody knows it and has exposed it, that's where the danger lies. I was like, oh, like that's a really, really, I wish they explained that like in the weeks leading up to this, because that is really important. And that actually, when that slow progression of just continually working on that area, working on giving a kick every now and then, slapping, doing whatever, backbreaker.
Yeah.
By the end, he could barely stand, and it was just like, that's some damn good selling. That's some really great old school storytelling. Loved it.
The commentary, specifically in the main event, commentary throughout the entire show was solid, but specifically in the main event was great. Corey Graves did a fantastic job every single time Nakamura attacked him. At one point, he had a half crab, and he was saying like, "Oh, it's a half crab," and look at where Nakamura's pulling the pressure, the lower back. And then when Seth did the Hurricane Rana off the top rope, Michael Cole
that was smart.
They spoke about that. They spoke, "Oh my God, that he must be in pain," and then Graves said, "No, well, he landed on his knees. Yes, he's still going to feel the impact, but like just everything from Seth selling."
It's less than the superplex, and they talked about like the superplex into the Falcon Arrow is his specialty because that inflicts more damage, but it might hurt him more now that his back's being worked on. It's like
everything from that to, from the commentary to Seth selling to Nakamura just targeting the back. It was good. It was a good main event,
right
up until the last 10 seconds.
Yeah, I just that finish was just so damn abrupt. I wasn't expecting that to just be it.
And the fans, that was the first, and I had the same reaction. Even the fans were like, "What? This is how it ended." You could tell they were kind of shocked at it. But there was a clip. I don't know if WWE uploaded it yet, but there was a clip floating online after the match that Nakamura attacked Seth. So we're not done just yet.
Right. Oh yeah, this is definitely going on for a while. But
Hey, welcome.
they actually
Andrew.
welcome Andrew, Mistress Andrew.
Possible, yeah, and possible stipulation. It could be something we could get in the future.
Yeah, I would love to see that. I'd love to see that. Maybe one of them gets a good spanking or something like that. But but it was really well done, really well done. I thought that was a really pay-per-view PLE main event worthy.
Yeah, no, it absolutely was. It absolutely was. And just to kind of stay on Seth for a second.
That's what I said, Andrew. I said this is the best. I said this is the best wrestling crowd that Pittsburgh has ever had, ever. Yeah. Andrew knows he's a veteran of the Post Raw show for sure.
Oh yeah. Just to kind of stay on Seth for a second. I'm not the character. I'm not the character's biggest fan. Right? Seth could go in the ring. He's solid. I'm not the character's biggest fan, but it's gotten to the point where they're trying to make the belt mean something, even though technically it's like the third world title within the company. They're still trying to get it to be, and Seth kind of would have to be the guy to get that going. But now it's gotten to the point where, at least in my opinion, who finally gets it? Is it just going to be Damian Priest in the cash in, or does someone legitimately beat Seth and get that rub, so to speak? Because Seth does not need the title. It's the title, I guess, in a way that needs Seth, or it needs a big name. How long do you keep it on Seth for?
Yeah, it's a great question.
That's the thing about it's who's next. He's feuded with the Judgment Day. He's had Nakamura.
Right.
Cody. It's not going to be Cody. Cody doesn't want that belt. And
I would actually like to see Gunther versus Seth Rollins. Like Intercontinental Champion versus WWE Champion or World Champion. In this case. Yeah.
That's why I wanted Nakamura to win tonight. It wasn't going to happen. I had no expectations, but I wanted Nakamura to win just because something different. Maybe it helps elevate Nakamura. It's a change of character.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have Cody Rhodes floating around. You have Jey Uso floating around.
Jay's a good option. I don't think Cody goes anywhere near that belt.
No, I think it's gonna be Cody versus Roman again.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only title that would complete the story. It's like if he wins the third world title in the company, it's not really. So that's not the title that was in his father's picture.
Yeah. No, at all. So that belt did not exist back then. Andrew's saying, did you guys notice Raw was a heavy Raw show? It was, and not sure if I would go back to the PLEs where one show ended.
I hate that.
I hope not.
I hate that idea. I'd rather just have a couple good quality, like if Raw has all the quality feuds that belong on a pay-per-view called Payback, because like everything was kind of like a grudge match. There were grudges being settled within a group, like the Judgment Day had a grudge settled in their group. Rhea Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez had a grudge. Becky and Trish, big grudge. LA Knight and The Miz, that was a SmackDown and Raw match.
Yeah.
Mysterio and Theory, that's a SmackDown match, but it fit the theme of the show. I like that the pay-per-views aren't just a name. It's like like if they did like Armageddon, I don't know, like what do you do, like a match over a nuclear weapon to make it, I don't know, but for the most part, like that really, there was a theme tonight, and they played into it really well.
Yeah.
I think it just so happens that the Raw storylines fit better for this pay-per-view, and the ones that didn't make the cut, like you would think like Gunther versus Chad Gable might be on the show, or whatever. No,
it wasn't. And I'm looking at the schedule now. I mean, Fastlane is October 7th, so roughly a month from now, just over a month from now. But then Survivor Series is November 25th.
Right.
So
they're going to throw. They're probably going to throw in a Saudi Arabia show in the middle of that.
Right.
Probably end of October, I would say, most likely Crown Jewel, or early November.
I forgot about those. About those.
Yeah.
But
So if I had to guess,
maybe I would like to see that gap though of like a month and a half to 2 months. It really gets them to build a lot of the
well,
storylines.
yeah, absolutely. Especially if they plan on doing War Games again, for Survivor Series, to like actually give it time to set some good storylines and build to the War Games over those couple weeks. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think for War Games this year, I think it's got to be Judgment Day. The four of them with JD and Rhea. So you got JD, Rhea, and the three guys versus some team. I think we got to get something like that for War Games. I know last year was Bloodline heavy.
Yeah.
Daniel saying Survivor Series is in Chicago. Yeah, we'll get CM Punk as the fifth guy. But but I think for Survivor Series you got to go with something like that if you're gonna do War Games.
Yeah.
Maybe Raquel with I don't know who else or something. But give it time. Give it time to build up for War Games. I'm excited. I know we spoke about this before about the fall not being the best, but this year could be good, just like last year.
Yeah. Well, we'll be here to cover it all and talk about it all with you fine people when it actually happens. But for now, that's going to wrap up our coverage of Payback and CM Punk, or CM Pink, as they say on WWE Shop. Overall, Roy, what do you give this show? Thumbs up?
Oh, thumbs up, definitely.
I think so, right?
Definitely. Yeah, there wasn't even the lows of the pay-per-view were not particularly low. It was just okay matches.
Right. Like I'm trying to looking at the poll on Twitter, it's 87% thumbs up. It's like I'm trying to figure out the 13% of the people that didn't like the show. Like,
I don't know. I know we've spoken about this in the past. Is it just a matter of maybe you did not like the ending, so it leaves you with a bad taste in your mouth? You're like, I don't like it. Thumbs down.
Yeah, I want Nakamura to win. Hated it. Sorry.
Yeah.
And some people, you can't please everybody. But I thought, I had to remind myself multiple times today that there's a pay-per-view tonight because I started I was doing that thing where you start making plans with people. You're like, oh yeah, I can come to that thing.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I was gonna have because I was like, I told my mom, I was like, why don't you come over tonight? We'll watch a movie with the girls. And I was like, oh, you can't come. I'm watching wrestling.
It's a great son. Great son, everybody.
I'm son of the year. Son of the year.
Saying no to his mom to watch Men in Tights. Or would Adam say Men in Tights or Men in Spandex?
Men's sweaty pants or something like that. Stretchy pants.
There you go.
But I'm just waiting for my basement to be done. Like, it's been since April. We've been getting this damn basement done. That's where I'll have my wrestling set up after that. I won't be taking over the living room. My mom can come over and watch a movie with the girls, and I don't have to be involved. I can be downstairs and just pop up every now and then during those intermissions that they have. Oh, for those that don't have Peacock Unlimited, you get to watch this crappy thing.
Yeah, I guess I never really understood that because over here we just have the network, so we just get previews of the matches.
Here's something psychotic. I actually paid for the Peacock Premium or whatever they call it, just so I didn't have to watch their stupid commercials. It bothered me that much that I just I'm just gonna pay for it.
We're good. We still get it regular channel. We still have access to the network online. We don't have to use Peacock. We could watch live. We could rewind. We could do what we want.
You guys have all the luck.
Get a VPN, Mike.
Yeah, I should.
We'll get a VPN to sponsor us.
I like that. It's a good idea. Hey, we know some people in tech.
Yeah, we do.
One of them's coming from one of them will be visiting you very soon, I hope. So let's talk to him about it.
Yeah. The other one.
Anyway, for Christ's sake.
There you go.
Well, anyway, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. I know that this a lot of people said, "Oh, wow, it's a surprise post show tonight." Yeah, it's definitely a surprise post show. Hey, you never know. Maybe they could do all that. Maybe Jerome and Alex will do all that. Who knows? You never know.
Yeah.
But we love doing these shows. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us tonight and chatting with us. Great lively crew. Good to have Andrew right at the tail end. Sorry you came right at the end, buddy, but that's good to have
Daniel in here.
Daniel's here. We had Nafisa Dot. We have the Swerve Show, Machoon Walls.
Jerome as well was there.
Oh, Jerome was Rove and Jerome. We love
Yeah.
it. So anyway, everybody have a great night, and we'll see you soon. Be well.